Welcome to our first annual State of the Schools in Henry County Schools and this monumental event to unveil and launch the direction of our district through the 5-year strategic plan. My name is Carmen, and along with Bryce, Hannon, and DeAndre, we will be your hosts for today. Before we begin, it is my distinct honor to recognize the honored guests who have joined us today. Thank you, elected officials, business leaders, community leaders, families, and most importantly, my fellow students. Let me also recognize our distinguished Board of Education, just recently honored as a finalist for Governance Team of the Year in the state of Georgia, and honored with distinguished board status. The members of our unified governance team who are here today, Mrs. Holly Cobb, Chair of the Board of Education, Mrs. Annette Edwards, Vice Chair of the Board of Education, Dr. Pam Nutt, Mr. Mackenzie McDaniel, and Mrs. Sophie Pope. I also have to take a moment to introduce Henry County Schools District Teachers of the Year and the chairs of Dr. Davis's Teacher Advisory. Here today, representing all of the absolutely super amazing, loving, caring, and simply spectacular teachers in our district are Tabitha Wesley from Timberridge Elementary School, Melanie Kellum from McDonough Middle School, and James Forsyth from Luella High School. Oh, and I'm also going to introduce you to the chair of the Superintendent's Principal Advisory. Representing the district's unbelievably dedicated team of principals is Dr. Keisha Jones from Eagles Landing High School. And I might as well give a personal shout out and say hello to my teacher, Mrs. Veal, and Principal McRae from Timberridge Elementary School, who are joining us virtually. Hi, Miss Veal. Now I'm turning it over to Bryce.
Thanks, Carmen, and hello, Henry County. I am Bryce, and I am proud to share with you that what we do in Henry County Schools is pretty special. But what makes it so special, you might ask? Besides me, and besides all of us students here in Henry, in all seriousness, Henry County Schools is special because we are built on a stable foundation that started with shared beliefs of the Board of Education, transformative principles that include a plan of action, a plan for organizational accountability, a plan for equity through opportunities, access, and outcomes for all students. And why am I proud to go to school in Henry? I'm proud because built on a foundation that is being unveiled today is our community-inspired strategic plan that reflects our voices, all of our voices, you, me, our parents, our neighbors, businesses, and our leaders. Because when we say community in Henry County Schools, we mean all of us together, since we are better together after all. The result of all this has put Henry County Schools on a mission to empower all students with exceptional opportunities and access to ensure success in global society.
Over this past school year, I've had the opportunity of working alongside Dr. Davis as the president of the Superintendent's High School Student Advisory. I can truly attest to her drive and passion for Henry County Schools, staff, students, families, and community. She makes it her mission that every student and employee has a place that makes them feel like they belong. She has impacted me personally in teaching me new ways on how to lead others, as well as modeled how to lead with respect for every individual and stakeholder. In words of our board chair, Mrs. Holly Cobb, Dr. Davis doesn't just talk about leadership, she demonstrates it in her servant leadership. Without further ado, I present to you our superintendent and my mentor, Dr. Mary Elizabeth Davis.
Do we not have the best students in Henry County Schools? Well, thank you, Carmen and Bryce and DeAndre, and I know Hannon, who will be joining us virtually at the end of our program today. Could not be a better collection of hosts. So thank you all, and it's good to see them in person. We stand here today with strong and stable foundations, long-range strategic plans, unified governance with a clear and focused goal. These are the fundamental attributes of thriving, growing, improving, and forward-thinking school systems. The core business of Henry County Schools has been and always will be student learning. And when momentum propels compounding performance growth, and when results emerge following incredible work in the classroom, change practices across the district, and extraordinary community engagement, you can feel the excitement and the hope of a future for our next generation. But little did we know, it would all be put to the test on one almost springtime day in March 13th of 2020, when the world we knew stopped and the world of public education was turned upside down overnight. Foundations could buckle, strategic plans could be abandoned, unified governance could crumble, and focused goals become blurry. The core business could become survival and preservation, and the momentum, well, any remnants of momentum would evaporate, replaced with anchors trying to find solid ground to steady itself in wild storms. So what's the story of Henry County Schools? What is the story for Carmen and Bryce, Hannon and DeAndre, and the 43,000 young people they represent here today? What's our story?
We've proven that Henry County Schools is better when we all work together.
The past 18 months have represented the most exceptionally rewarding, exceptionally challenging, and exceptionally pivotal times in our school district's history. Each and every moment experienced is a key reminder of what makes Henry County Schools so great, our people, and propels us forward in pursuit of exceptional for our students, our teachers, our leaders, our families, and our community, and our board. Every journey has a starting point, or at least a moment that people look back on as the kickstart moment. After a year of incredible growth and achievement in the classroom, thanks to teachers and students, coupled with the Board of Education leading with a unified governance framework consisting of core beliefs and commitments, strategic priorities, and a newly adopted plan of action, Henry County Schools was celebrating in the fall of 2019, being the fastest improving and nearly highest achieving district in the metro Atlanta region. A feat this grand called for a dedicated day of celebration proclaimed by the Board of Education and joined in recognition by various government, civic, and business entities around the county. This was a rewarding moment, a celebratory moment, an emotional moment, for it represented the impact teachers, leaders, and support staff in Henry County Schools have on the learning and lives of our exceptional youth. And it represented a turning point in our pledge that the best possible place for an education was and would continue to be in Henry County Schools.
I was proud to be a part of a community of success. I was proud to celebrate the school system that serves as the backbone of success in our community.
I was thankful to be a part of this effort to empower our leaders to support learning at the highest levels and help our students achieve.
I was energized, excited, and proud of our teachers, our kids, and what we, together, proved was possible.
I was grateful for the adults who poured so much into my learning so I could be successful.
The growth and the celebration were enhanced by many other marquee moments in our schools and our county. Momentum, a powerful force, was most definitely on our side. You would be hard-pressed to find a more positive trajectory in public education. Henry County Schools was a shining example of a school district on the right track for students. Harnessing this momentum around the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020 carried the Board of Education and school district into the early stages of development of what ultimately rounds out a board's governance framework, the 5-year strategic plan. This final piece is the board's compass and strengthens the foundation built on a multitude of diverse voices participating in the visioning process. Thousands of voices from all corners and sectors of the school community ensured the end result would be inclusive of every perspective, making up one of the fastest growing counties in Georgia and the nation. Families and businesses, school leaders and teachers, internal and external stakeholders, elementary students through high school seniors, every language, culture, and age, all represented.
It says something positive about the direction and inclusiveness of an organization when they actively see everyone's input as a guide to their work. I truly feel our voices matter.
Leadership voices matter.
Las voces de los papás son importantes.
Teacher voices matter.
My voice matters.
My voice matters.
My voice matters.
And then, education as we knew it changed overnight.
To date, the Department of Public Health has not seen a concern for our Henry County schools to adjust our daily operations as a school district. After the governor's press conference yesterday, Henry County schools decided to begin remote learning and close school campuses and district facilities on Monday, March 16th.
Momentum. Momentum on growth, on continuous improvement, on community connectivity, and especially on a strategic plan to guide the future of the district. All halted for what was once thought to be only 2 weeks. No one knew it would be much longer than that.
It was a hectic time, no doubt, for everyone. Most parents aren't equipped to take on the expanded role we found ourselves in at home, being a parent while also being teachers to aid of sorts. But it was great to see how much the district and schools did to support virtual learning. There were so many districts around us struggling, but with personal computers for our students, there were ample online resources, reading and literacy programs, physical fitness activities, and even redesign of the school meal delivery model. Era bien notable.
This forced, and at the time, unknown conclusion to virtual learning wasn't completely void of positive, transformational moments. There were so many memorable moments provided thanks to remarkable educators.
Come through, you and you help Habitat for Humanity and dying children too.
Wired up.
With the end of a normal school year in a state of flux, Henry County Schools did everything it could to provide a proper closure to this unforgettable school year with traditional celebrations of progression to the next grade level. While planning for these events seemed to energize the community, the unfortunate and tragic loss of life through social injustices was rocking our country to its core. No community was insulated from the abhorrent actions that took place and the reactions that ensued. It was a pivotal moment, not just in the nation, but in our community and schools too.
Our belief in the capability, yes, the life-changing, history-making, world-impacting capability of every child. I have searched deeply in my soul. I've wanted to be more of me and less of me all at once. What I do know is that I adore and believe in young people. I value and love our team of employees. And I care about our community with my entire being. When there is hurt, I hurt. And I resolve to do anything in my power to bring healing, hope, and courage.
Pandemics, social injustices, and unrest. There was no forgetting or erasing these moments, but once again, resolve and hope can be found in our students. Our district was finally able to round out the 2019-20 school year with the most memorable of events for our seniors, graduation.
You just have to look inside yourself and better you first, so then we can better the world.
To break barriers. In a time such as this, we don't have to make each other feel inferior or isolated.
Remember to do it with unity, grit, helpfulness, and self-respect, as that is the Wolverine way.
In that history textbook that in the end it says, "But we won." Thank you, class of 2020. I love you all.
I was glad to be able to celebrate the end of the school year and couldn't wait to get back to regular school for the next year. The way things ended in 2020 were really tough.
Attention now shifted to the 2020-21 school year. The start date had been approved 2 years prior, but COVID-19 showed little regard for pre-approved start dates. It couldn't derail a planned return to on-campus learning after all that had been experienced the school year before, could it?
I believe we have tried every single possible scenario to prepare and plan to allow for campuses to be open. At this time, the conditions of COVID-19 are just not making that possible. The most responsible next step that I can recommend is that not only do we delay a start till August 17th, but we go virtual only until further notice. We care deeply about the experience school provides for children and families, and we will not rest until you can expect exceptional in any way we can deliver it. Mr. Chair, that concludes what I have prepared, and I turn it back over to you for any discussion.
While there was a shift in operations as experienced in the spring, this latest closure was an even heavier lift and shift in educational delivery. The resiliency and ideas, though, shone even brighter than before.
Educators will stop at nothing to show just how much they care for their students. It is why we chose
this career. We had to find new delivery models and outreach strategies, new creative ways to deliver content,
and try new platforms to capture our students' work and keep learning going.
Come on, guys, get moving. It's gonna be the best day ever.
When the school year finally started on August 17th, it wasn't how anyone could have imagined it just 5 months prior. There would be a remote virtual launch, followed by a phased, gradual, and staggered return to on-campus learning for families wanting this option. The volatility of a school year manifested month after month, fueled by the unpredictability of a still very present pandemic, rested like a gray cloud over school districts.
Wrong way signs here, our two-way signs here, so it pretty much gives everybody a good direction of where they're supposed to go.
We suffered loss, experienced pain like no other, and felt immense emptiness through our community's grieving. But emerging through this dark time was the hope and spirit that was found in the arrival of spring. Our district became the only school district to provide a closed point of distribution site to administer COVID-19 vaccines, helping to vaccinate over 2,200 of our staff, our private school educators, and daycare providers. Our board was honored and a new member was welcomed to the team. Teachers were recognized for their heroic efforts. Students and their success was celebrated. Evidence and belief emerged that we would finish this year stronger than when we began.
An organization that can manage a crisis and come out stronger, that's an organization I want to be a part of.
Through managing the intensity of a crisis, we never lost sight of kids and the necessity to plan for their future.
We could have folded, but we stood tall.
We could have been distracted, but we remained focused.
We could have said it was too difficult, but we found a way to make it happen.
We succeeded because we all pulled together.
The Henry County School story, our story, is adaptable, resilient, and inspiring. It is the story of our future, a journey to experience in pursuit of exceptional. And our pursuit continues.
We've proven.
So this is our story. It's a story of strength, a story of resiliency, a story of conviction that despite all odds, Henry County Schools would not buckle. We would not crumble, we would not blur our vision, and we would not solely accept preservation-based leadership. Yes, we would cry, we would hurt, we would grieve, we would recognize the loss and the real, thick, ever-present taste of fear, but we would not be afraid. We were not alone, and we would not solely hang on to preserve. Not Henry County. We would not and we will not forget that there are 43,000 students and their families and 6,000 employees that are counting on us, every one of us, to not wait for their future to be present before we prepare for it. So in Henry County Schools and our greater Henry County community, it has taken every single one of us, every single day, on the hardest of days and in the most hopeful of days, to never give up. Not give up on that day, and not give up on what it would take to come out of this crisis ready for a stronger, a brighter, a more inclusive, and a more ambitious future for our kids. So we are unwaveringly strong and uncommonly ambitious because of the unified governance of our Board of Education. I would love to invite the members of the Board of Education who are able to be here today to please stand. I want to personally recognize you, and I want our community to commend you for together making these hard decisions this past year. It is required to stay focused on kids. We commend you. Thank you to the most exceptional Board of Education team. And I'm grateful for our city mayors, our city councils of Hampton, Locust Grove, McDonough, and Stockbridge, each of our county board of commissioners, led by Chair Harrell, members of our Henry County legislative delegation, our Chamber of Commerce President Joe Henning, and County Manager Sherry Matthews, and our Executive Director of Economic Development, Josh Fenn. We have stuck together every step of this way so that we can work together on behalf of our greater Henry County community. If you are an elected official here joining us today, would you please stand so that we can recognize you? It has been a hard season to lead, and you have led, and we are thankful for that. I know I saw some of our elected officials potentially in our neighboring room. Hopefully they're standing, and we can applaud our elected officials together. And in Henry County, we're uniquely blessed, right? We're uniquely blessed to have partners who have dropped everything to support our schools, our employees, and our kids. The list is long, but we would not be where we are today without our medical partners, specifically Piedmont Henry and CEO Lily Henson, and the Chief Medical Officer Bill Watkins, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and our local pediatricians, Dr. Ratmeyer and Dr. Pulliam, who have been by our side every decision, every day, every step along the way. And of course, Dr. Pierce and Moist Pharmacy partnered with Henry County Schools to pull off a closed pod point of distribution vaccination site for employees, and our Department of Public Health, District 4, and our emergency management officials led by Don Ash. If we could, we've got to applaud the members of our medical community who have walked by all of us in our organizations and industries this past year. We're thankful for you. And of course, there's an endless list of partners who have gone above and beyond, like Operation Lunchbox, who partnered to deliver meals, and Story on the Square and Real Leaders Read, who provided books for students. Pretty Griffin and the Raise Me Up Foundation, who served our most vulnerable members of the community with grace over these past 15 months. Thanks to the Shaquille O'Neal Foundation, the Chris Tucker Foundation for doing whatever it took to serve meals to families and serve kids. It's simply exceptional. You know that every community across this globe had to respond, every one of them. But I would attest there's no community who came together better than ours. Would all of our community partners, our faith-based partners, and everyday heroes please stand so we can recognize you during this time. And I have a special recognition for Georgia Credit Union and Steve Overcash, who's here today, who has sponsored today's event and made our live streaming to bring to our viewers virtually possible. Steve, will you stand so we can recognize you, and thank you for your sponsorship. Listen, we came together in COVID-19. Now let's stick together on behalf of K-12 education. So I'm reminded here today that really, it's because of them. It's because of DeAndre and Hannon and Bryce and Carmen, that it's because of you and the 43,000 other students that they are representing. You are the reason we get to do and love what we get to do in our Henry County community. So believe it or not, I'm standing here today 424 days from that ridiculous statement on March 13th, and declare that our foundation has remained unbroken, our long-range strategic plan has been nurtured and ready to be unveiled, our unified governance is strengthened, and our goals are crystal clear. From celebrating an 11-point growth in 2019 to May 11th, 11 days from the last day of school this year, our pursuit of exceptional continues. Now, the pursuit of exceptional continues. You gotta think about that. Those are powerful words for a powerful moment in a long celebrated history of Henry County schools. But the plan we'll share today is our pledge to the future of education in Henry County. And it's a reflection of the expectation of exceptional in everything we do, and a recognition that that's only possible when we do it together. So as Lewis Carroll wrote, if you don't know where you're going, any old road will get you there. But any old road is not going to do for Henry County. The road we will travel has actually been built together, and our path forward is clear. So, talking about the future, it requires us to take a brief moment and reflect upon our past, and why, as a community, we can recognize progress while accepting that we are pleased, we are not yet satisfied. So let me introduce you to Kenzo. Now, Kenzo was a kindergartner at Stockbridge Elementary School in 2018, and his teacher, Alan Jones, was implementing our newly designed early literacy model, a deliberate approach to teaching reading that is built on the philosophy that if gaps in reading skills are uncovered early for our youngest learners, then large, unmanageable gaps will be avoided in later years for our students. Well, Kenzo, age 5, a shy student, new to Stockbridge Elementary School, was not very verbal, and he demonstrated limited, very limited pre-reading skills. All too often in public education today, that is a recipe for years of struggling to read. But not in Henry County, and not on the watch of Henry County educators like Alan Jones, Tracy Blakely, and Stacy Laverick, his teachers for the last 3 years. By the end of kindergarten, Kenzo was reading above grade level, qualified for gifted services, and today, 3 years later, he is exiting 2nd grade reading on a 5th grade level. That's what happens in Henry County schools. And Kenzo's only one story of the unbelievable impact of our kindergarten teachers and paraprofessionals, along with 1st and 2nd grade teachers who have across Henry County joined in to embrace that every child's reading on grade level is a key to their future success. And while reading gains have been made at every grade level, and there have been widespread gains in math and science and social studies, it's really our Board of Education that made it clear what we will teach, the pace we will follow, and how we ensure that every student makes progress every day. But it's not until you infuse that with the teachers effectively infusing their talent and creativity into bringing learning to life. And that's what happens for Kenzo. As a result, kids in Henry County learn more on our watch than they would anywhere else. So 2019 was actually a year when districts across the state of Georgia experienced increases in student achievement gaps, but not in Henry County. In that very same year, Henry County schools, elementary schools, all 29 of them collectively, achieved 100% of their student group achievement gap targets set by the state. That was a 70% increase from the year prior, and a reflection that when every child is learning at high levels, achievement gaps do not need to exist on our watch. And middle school and high school achievement gap targets were right behind that. But when the state saw more student gaps performance increasing, Henry County saw those gaps closing. Think about that for a moment. What incredible work our teachers have done in every classroom, every school across this district to ensure students can learn at high levels because of our commitment of every person in the organization. And believe it or not, this deeply held commitment, it did not stop when we crashed into March of 2020 and we turned our kitchen tables into classrooms to keep this learning going, even in a worldwide pandemic. On our ambitious pursuit for success in Henry County, it's for every student. And the performance of our students with disabilities has been steadily increasing since 2017. Among many grade level gains, last year's graduation rate for students with disabilities in Henry County was nearly 6% higher than the year prior. Think about the superhuman strength of special educators in Henry County schools, along with their paraprofessionals who support special education services. A superhuman strength that was present as we shifted away from the classroom into remote settings, and as we saw services for students with disabilities revolutionized and reinvented, it continued to define an investment in exceptional learning. So I've got to introduce you to Haley. Haley is a student at Luella High School and a student in our Teacher of the Year's special program classroom. Well, Haley's in a class with Mr. Forsyth, and he serves students with the most significant cognitive disabilities. This young lady is nonverbal and was making great strides with her communication as we headed into school closure last March. Of course, the remote environment has made it difficult for many children, but particularly those dependent on assistive technology devices for their communication. But she's now returned safely to face-to-face learning, and her skills have been rebuilt. And these past months, Haley has not only regained her communication skills, but using her assistive technology, will tell you about her weekend, she'll tell you what she needs, what she wants, and is ordering lunch. This is what's truly inspiring in Henry County schools. But I believe this is our moment to also celebrate the educators of students with disabilities and the paraprofessionals and specialists who work to serve our students served in special education. Can you please join me in a round of applause for our special educators? Now, as we look at gains across the district in 2017, since 2017, 418 more students have qualified for gifted services. 800 more students in middle school are taking high school courses as a middle schooler. 194 more students are enrolled in AP courses since last year alone. And in 2020, there were gains in the percent of students who earned a 3 or higher on the AP exam, despite that we were at the start of a worldwide pandemic. 300 more students have been enrolled in dual enrollment courses, and 140 more students earned the Hope Scholarship in 2020 than ever before. And to top that off, the class of 2020 graduation rate was the highest in Henry County history, hitting 88%. Now, these figures are worth celebrating, but these figures aren't numbers. These data points represent kids and their lives who are forever changed because of exceptional learning experiences made possible by educators and support professionals in Henry County. Now, these data points represent our kids and also the future of our shared community. And you can have great confidence that our future is in good hands. So I've got to tell you about Nastasia. Now, Nastasia is a student right here at McDonough High School. She is doing something young people across America only dream of. She is one of 22 students here at McDonough and Stockbridge High Schools that spend part of their day dual enrolled in a literature class at Harvard University. Now, Nastasia didn't have to wait to graduate to attend college, but instead, Henry County provided access to college right here in the comfort of her community. And she has now experienced Harvard professors, Harvard instruction, and many kids only dream of that. Now, you know, I am right here in McDonough High School, so I think it's probably appropriate that I thank the staff of McDonough High School and our teacher, Allison Beecher, who is partnering with our Harvard professor, and Mr. Mattox, who is here today, who has hosted us for this event. So can we thank Mr. Mattox and his team here at McDonough High School? So learning gains, improved outcomes for kids, growing opportunities, and a district on the rise in the Metro Atlanta region is only possible with the best collection of professionals in public education. From the most essential classroom teacher to the wraparound services that are provided, extraordinary school leadership teams, and a district who realizes the core business is student learning. And every single one of us plays a key role in that. So here today, joining us in person, are many of the teachers of the year of each of our schools, as well as the educational support professionals of the year, including social workers, psychologists, counselors, clinic aides, paraprofessionals, and many other support roles. You know, there is not enough to celebrate on what our public educators have done this past year, and now is our time to show them your love. If you are an educator or support professional in Henry County Schools, will you please stand so we can give you a standing ovation? And to those in the room next door, we are celebrating you. And to our teachers, our leaders, and our professionals joining us virtually, we see you, we recognize you, and we celebrate you too. So coupled with the skill, the talent, and effectiveness of our teachers and leaders is a Board of Education who has made a pledge that effective and tightly aligned resources will be in the hands of every one of our teachers to bring learning to life in every classroom. And the Board of Education has seen to it that a comprehensive print and digital resource for students and teachers be systematically acquired and equitably distributed to every child for every family in every classroom in every school. This, standing alongside our device that is in the hands of every child, thanks to the vision of former Superintendent Rodney Bowler and the Board of Education at that time, is why Henry County was poised to be a differentiator when we transitioned to remote learning 15 months ago. Other districts scrambled to find, now impossible to find, devices for students and to find resources, but students in Henry County left with a backpack full of a device and materials to support their learning at home, including work texts, learning aids, manipulatives, rulers, and calculators. I saw one media center just unload every book in the media center and put it in bags. I've always wondered if they ever came back. Students can only learn more when the environment for learning is safe, it's supportive, and it's inclusive. So during this time, we have completely redesigned our code of conduct. We have maintained high expectations for behavior while seeing our role as educators and teachers in the process. The number of infractions resulting in assignment of in-school suspension or out-of-school suspension has drastically declined, while at the same time, student perceptions of feeling safe and connected in school have only increased. In 2019-20, at the elementary school level, 90% of students reported that there is either always or often an adult at their school who will help them if needed, and that is up from 86% the year prior. The assignment of in-school suspension and out-of-school suspension pre-pandemic has decreased in school from 1,700 infractions to 500, and that is a result of us being committed to health, wellness, and prevention services for our young people. Time out of class is time out of learning, and there are important strides that we make to keep kids connected to their learning, connected to their school, and connected to the relationships that are inside. So when I think about exceptional connectedness, I also have to recognize our coaches, our athletic directors, our volunteers on the sports field, and they made it possible to play again. They made it possible to belong and wear a jersey and compete. And to our coaches, you also made learning possible by how you coach and how you build champions in Henry County. And our teacher sponsors of clubs and our JROTC instructors, our CTAE teachers, and our teachers of specials and connections, your role in a child's education has never been more paramount. I have to give a special thank you to my daughter's art teacher, who has actually made class so inviting that every Thursday night, I find myself receiving a 7-year-old's instruction on how to do exactly what was taught in our class that day. So I did think that Miss Ireland, you probably would be impressed that I could share my balloon project that I have made all by myself, thanks to the instruction of my 7-year-old wannabe art teacher. This is also a moment I should probably thank my family. This balloon, it reminds me of the very few moments our family has had together, and I'm sure you see that in your own lives. I want to thank my husband, who is here today and has been so supportive during this journey over this past year, and to my kids who have helped me make art balloon projects. So, everywhere you look, everywhere you go, Henry County Schools has heroes making learning meaningful and building places to belong. And undergirding this organization has also been an investment in improving our operational effectiveness. Not often headline award winning, but effectiveness and efficiency has to be a part of the way we run our organization. If we are going to keep our investment as close to kids as possible, we've got to invest in operations. So over the past 3 years, we have improved our processes for state reporting and student services, and we have improved our approach to ensuring that students are paired with the most precise learning interventions and enrichments as possible. As a result of improved reporting and improved processes or organization, we have realized $14 million new in compliance with the state of Georgia's funding formula. This attention to detail and rigorous expectation of accuracy in responsible reporting from the school building to the district infrastructure to the Georgia Department of Education has afforded Henry County Schools to in turn make the most historical investments in its workforce and its per pupil expenditure to date. After decades of lagging behind other districts in Atlanta and Griffin regions in salaries and compensation for our job families, we can now finally say that our community is investing in the workforce at a level that competes for the best talent in every job family in public education. We have elevated the starting teacher salary above $41,000 after years of being the only district with a starting salary below $40,000. This is one of the many factors that contribute to making Henry County Schools the best place for teachers to teach, and it serves as an effort to recruit the competitive pool of recent graduates and new educators in the field of education. It's also contributed to historical staffing records, as we have been able to be 99% staffed in every teaching position at the start of the year, 4 years running, including in a global pandemic. The Board of Education now has just last night approved the most historic investment in our job families with a starting salary below $15 an hour. Within a $1 increase in each of the 24 job families on the pay scale starting below $15, this now moves our hourly wage employment categories above the $9 range. And as the largest employer in Henry County, and our role as being critical to the infrastructure, we have taken responsibility to impact our revenue through improved processes, organizational efficiency, and responsible student reporting techniques, and in turn are investing back in the strongest workforce in public education. And with the passing of the FY22 budget, which again happened just last night, Henry County Schools was also made the most historic investment in the per pupil expenditure by increasing it $550 per student just this last year. So here we are today, a community that's working together. We have disrupted declining results. We have elevated convictions of what we will not accept on our watch, and we have invested in the tools and resources needed to advance learning for every student. How could we be anything but pleased? Well, of course we are, and we're proud, because we're proud to be a part of the best team in public education today. But we are not resting, because while we are pleased, we are not yet satisfied. It's time to turn our attention to what can be possible building off of this strong foundation. And that's what brings us here today. So we have stabilized and strengthened our foundation, and we are now talking about our path forward to the future. As I mentioned, if you don't know where you're going, any old road will get you there. We know where we're going, and our road has been built together. So 16 months ago, in December of 2019, and then January and February in 2020, that's when we re-engaged our community on what was next. As a result, there were 300 community conversations, 8,000 plus contributors to the process, and all of our voices of the community made it clear what our pursuit of exceptional could look like. And emerging from the many thousands of ideas that were generated were themes that would inform the work of the strategic plan that I'll be unveiling here today. You, our community, shared my own pleased but not satisfied sentiment when you made clear what you expected of your schools here in Henry County. Our pursuit of exceptional would ensure that Henry County Schools is a high-performing district, and for our students to have advanced opportunities available, accessible to them, regardless of where they go to school. So after months of community conversation, right before our minds were totally consumed by a worldwide pandemic that fell upon us, and our hearts were broken because of social injustices shaking our country and our community, I stand here today, prevailed to unveil the community-inspired strategic plan that makes it quite clear we are emerging stronger from a crisis, possessing a determined path forward that makes clear where we are going and how we will hold ourselves accountable to getting there. You see, when you pursue exceptional, you make no exceptions. A pandemic didn't stop our pursuit, and if anything, it's made us stronger and ready for the next stretch. So today, on May 11th, with 11 days remaining of the school year, it'll be the most extraordinary school year on record. I'm pleased to share the Henry County Schools strategic plan. And for the next 5 years, we will seek to ensure that the dreams of our community are realized for the children we serve in our schools. So there's 3 key ways to look at the strategic plan. First, a clear direction for the next 5 years does not abandon our foundation. Instead, it builds on our foundation with ambition and conviction. Second, it consists of priority outcomes. These are metrics that will go above and beyond state accountability systems. And third, it consists of strategic actions, further defined by initiatives that guide the work over the next 5 years. So being clear about goals in public education, from the community to the boardroom, to the classroom, and to the kitchen table, is only possible when our collective commitment to kids is greater than our own individual preference of practices. This is about being rigorous about our alignment and our belief why public schools exist in the first place. To realize the hopes and the dreams and the aspirations of the community in which those schools reside. So this is our pledge to families that there will be no better place to get an education than in Henry County schools. So let's start with priority outcome number 1. So priority outcome number 1, on our pursuit to exceptional, we will advance opportunities, access, and outcomes for every student group in literacy proficiency at every grade level. Imagine a day that every student is reading on grade level or above, and when they are not, they have a clear plan to get them there. We've seen our district's ability to read grow by double digits, and while that growth is great, we still have 1 in 2 students not reading on grade level in just about every grade. That's nearly 15,000 young people who need urgently provided support to accelerate their reading and set them up for success. Priority outcome number 1 will be accompanied by metrics that will include reading growth, it'll include writing proficiency, and it will also include access to diverse books and resources and world language programs. Priority outcome number 2. Priority outcome number 2 compels us to advance opportunities, access, and outcomes for every student group in readiness to learn at every level. This came from your voices. We heard in your remarks, in all the notes you placed on Post-it papers, that we must adopt the goal that every student will learn in a nurturing and supportive environment that fosters student health and well-being. Priority outcome number 2 also includes metrics around kindergarten readiness and advanced learning and coursework opportunities, along with monitoring health and well-being of our young people. Did you know that the Children's Reading Foundation has reported that only 4 out of every 10 kindergartners enter kindergarten ready for the expectations of kindergarten? I think our kindergarten teachers probably are singing that right now. We are setting this strategic plan in place to make certain that we overcome that gap, that we give families and our early learning providers the partners they need to prepare their young learners. Opportunities and access for advanced coursework is also essential. And I've already mentioned that we have 300 more students taking advanced learning in elementary school and 800 more students participating in a high school class in middle school. But the strategic plan now calls for every kid to have access to that. For every middle schooler to have access to a high school course before they get to high school. Not just the 2,000 out of 7,000 in our current 7th and 8th graders enrolled. We have been recognized in Henry County schools in 9 out of our 10 high schools as College Board Advanced Placement Honor Schools. And our student-earned industry certifications have increased by 38% in recent years. However, did you know that only 1/3 of all high school students are participating in either an AP course, a dual enrollment course, or earning industry certification? Well, that's just not sufficient. Pleased but not satisfied. We must aspire for every student to have post-secondary or work-based learning experience while they are in high school. And priority outcomes in this strategic plan will require more of Henry County schools. It requires fostering of not solely improving our outcomes, but improving our opportunities provided to every child. So we will invest in the necessary resources for schools and for students who don't have and we will no longer have circumstances where one high school maybe offers 6 AP classes while another 26 AP classes. We will set out to create opportunities and equip students to be successful. And while we have to ensure opportunity and access to advanced learning, we also have to ensure that we're providing an environment that students can thrive, feel safe, and belong when they are faced with challenges. The CDC has just reported that the pediatric ER visits for mental health-related concerns have increased and remained consistently high since April, with children ages 5 to 11 increasing by 24%, and young people ages 12 to 17 increasing by 31%. A very recent 2021 report from the Mental Health America demonstrates that youth anxiety and depression rates are rising. And additionally, a Gallup poll in June of 2020 reported that 43% of parents are expressing concern and indicated that their children were already or close to experiencing distress, harmful to both emotional and mental health. So imagine a day that is in Henry County schools, a day when every student learns in a nurturing and supportive environment that fosters student health and well-being, no exceptions. So now let's talk about priority outcome number 3, on which we declare that we will advance opportunities, access, and outcomes for every student group in college, career, and life-ready skills post-graduation. Our shared goal will be that when every student walks across that stage, they will have college credit, industry certification, or a work-based learning experience, and a solid plan for graduation, no exceptions. You see, the class of 2020 marked the highest graduation rate Henry County Schools has ever experienced, getting close to 90%. And graduating is such an important goal and a milestone in families' lives. But you and I both know it is actually what students are equipped to do when they walk off that stage on graduation night and enter into the world of adulthood. This is about getting to and through graduation and into competitive post-secondary opportunities or stable and skilled employment, or successfully passing acceptance requirements to enter the armed services. It's hard to know exactly what one wants to do at age 17 or 18, but it can be upon all of us to ensure that every 17 and 18-year-old sees themselves in their future, knows what their options are, believes they can accomplish them, and understands the path to take to choose them. Priority outcome number 3 calls for us to more boldly hold ourselves accountable to students completing career inventories and industry certifications, competency and financial literacy and soft skills, graduating meeting competitive post-secondary acceptance requirements, and meeting college readiness benchmarks in ELA and math. And for students who opt into the workforce directly out of their high school experience or enter the military, we commit to their preparation and eligibility to compete for skilled opportunities as well. In the year 2020, only 2,700 students out of the 3,200 entered a post-secondary institution. And of that number, only 96 students entered a Tier 1 university in the state of Georgia, that being Emory, Georgia Tech, or UGA. Now, there can be many reasons for that, and one of those being the realization that a pandemic had onset and disrupted the senior class and abruptly ended their year academically. But we commit to every student being able to see themselves after their graduation days and understand what it is necessary to be admitted to Tier 1 institutions, be competitive for post-secondary opportunities, and be invested in their workplace. Kids are counting on us. You've met DeAndre and Bryce and Hannon and Cameron and Kenzo and Nastasia and Haley. All of them are counting on us. Families are counting on us, and our community is counting on us. So we will have a school district that ensures walking across that stage of graduation means you are prepared. So imagine that day when every single graduate, and I mean every single graduate, graduates with college credit, industry certification, or work-based learning experience and has a solid post-secondary, post-graduation plan, no exceptions. These priority outcomes and these ambitious goals, well, they will be measured through 12 specific metrics mentioned briefly here and available for more detailed review on our website. But they will also serve to create the accountability profile for our organization over the coming 5 years. This effort will lead to a new level of accountability and a new level of clarity that we are all responsible for impacting the lives of young people. If you work in Henry County Schools, you are part of a team that is willing to set and achieve grand objectives for kids. You know, sometimes people hear the word accountability and they consider it daunting or even unnerving, but it shouldn't be. It should be inspiring and unifying and clarifying. Accountability just means that the goals are clear. And when you meet those goals, something happens. And when you don't meet those goals, something happens. Accountability is not about changing the people when goals are not met. It is about the people changing their practice when goals are not met. Accountability is about relentlessly assessing the effectiveness of our practice and humbly adjusting a practice that we either inherited or designed ourselves when results for students are not evident. Accountability is about celebrating wins together and adjusting when we don't meet our shared goals. Accountability is about being clear about our pursuit, clear about how our community determines success, and clear about our shared responsibility on behalf of the young people in Henry County. Accountability builds teams who share a mission and champions who celebrate every team member doing just their part. You see, these 3 priority outcomes mean that we are not solely holding ourselves accountable to the metrics designed by state accountability systems, currently known as the CCRPI. No, we are positioning our culture to be held accountable to the outcomes and our community said mattered most to them. And beyond traditional accountability outcomes, we are reaching further by declaring that we will hold ourselves accountable to the opportunities we create for students. Yes, this means we're going to have to change our practice. It means we're going to have to invest in resources over the next couple years. But when you are pursuing exceptional, you stay focused and you embrace the stretch to do more and to do better for every child. So to achieve our ambitious goals, we have laid out a series of initiatives, and it falls under 5 strategic actions, but I'm briefly going to touch on them now and invite you to view the back of your handout for the details. But if you remember those 16 months ago when we had our 52 school conversations, 300 community conversations, and 8,000 contributing voices, well, you're probably wondering what your voices led to. Well, they have led to this, a clear direction forward. Imagine that day, the one that you imagined in our conversations, that every Henry County kindergarten classroom student had access to a pre-K learning environment that's in partnership with Henry County Schools. Imagine that day when every elementary, middle, and high school has robotics and coding programs, a STEM lab, a chorus program, exposure to band and orchestra instruments, and exposure to world language. Currently, of our 52 schools in Henry County, we have 10 schools with Lego or VEX robotics, 3 schools with STEM labs, and only 2 out of all 52 schools that are STEM certified. 18 of our schools have a chorus, but when we say every student, we are now on pursuit to make opportunities and access available to every one of them. So imagine that day when a high school student can participate in an art program in a district known as a destination district for arts education and can participate in competitive and championship-winning athletic programs, compete in robotics, have access to dual enrollment courses from a variety of post-secondary institutions, including Tier 1 and Ivy League institutions like Georgia Tech and Harvard. We currently have so many bright spots in Henry County, but as the old adage says, individual stars does not a constellation make. Bright spots can no longer be left to the will, the interest, and the unique funding available by chance. Instead, the investment in developing these opportunities accompanies our roadmap forward. So the alignment between our strategic plan and the community-approved Education 6 SPLOST referendum that just came before you this March is so exciting, because thanks to you, our community, these opportunities to learn in Henry County schools are made possible through the investment and your voice of commitment to our youth. This is making our dream a reality. So the second strategic action advances effective school leadership and our effective classroom instruction. This means every student has in front of them effective tools and resources with an effective teacher who has had the most effective professional development to support their critical role in a child's life. And school leaders are clear about effective practices of leading in Henry County, and they are modeling these ambitious goals that will advance teaching and learning, advance school improvement, advance equity, accountability, and family engagement. So imagine a day when Henry County Schools is known as the most effective place for professional development for teachers and for all of our support professionals. This initiative also focuses on growing new members of the team with smart and modernized recruiting strategies and bold retention strategies for our current talented workforce. So strategic action 2 is about investing in what is best in front of our young people. Now, strategic action number 3 is dedicated to recognizing that academic success and community success is directly related to knowing that you belong. Imagine a day when every student feels a sense of belonging, every family member welcomed, and every community partner engaged. Right now, 25% of our students in middle school and high school report that they don't feel connected to an adult. 25%. We have to change that. If a student doesn't feel connected to an adult, it has to happen at school. And if they're not connected to an adult, it makes learning that much more difficult. So strategic action number 3 puts a laser focus on ensuring that all students and their families feel welcome, safe, and supported in Henry County schools. So I have to take a moment here and introduce you to another friend. I've got to tell you about Waylon. Now, Waylon is a student at Ola Middle School, and since 6th grade, Waylon has been a selective mute. However, over the course of this pandemic and through virtual learning, a huge barrier was overcome. Waylon found his voice. Waylon, who had never spoken a word in middle school, unmuted and spoke. The class erupted, and they themselves unmuted their unmute buttons and shouted and clapped on behalf of Waylon, and the instruction was halted momentarily to recognize what had just been accomplished. Waylon was asked why he decided to talk. His response was simple: I didn't want to be left out. And now, since returning to school, not only has Waylon continued to use his voice in his classes, he also sings at his church. He has shown improvement in his grades, and he always has a smile on his face. Now, this is proof that no matter what the modalities are, our teachers in Henry County will overcome them. They will bring our students in, and they will give them a place to belong. So imagine a day when, coupled with that, we have the best volunteer and mentoring programs, as well as expanded partnerships in our community. Imagine a day when we have a 501c3 foundation to support school and teacher grants along with student scholarships. Our pursuit of exceptional is not only about academic pursuit, it's about ambitiously pursuing the kind of connectivity that changes a community. Imagine that day. Well, that day is now, and that day is a part of the work of bringing strategic action number 3 to life. So while strategic action number 3 focuses on connectivity for our students and the role of our community partners, strategic action number 4 calls for a comprehensive approach to addressing the health and well-being of our students and staff that can no longer be content with strained resources to support these emerging needs. So imagine a day when every student and employee has access to top-tier health and wellness and support structures. Prioritizing student wellness means keeping kids in our classroom learning. So imagine a day when every student has access to comprehensive coaching and advisement through the counseling department that has adopted a comprehensive counseling model, and counselors' time is prioritized for academic advisement, career and college advisement, and direct student counseling. Imagine that day when we are partnered with our community to provide supports and solutions that are true wraparound services for any child who experiences a gap. A day when we have whole systems that support the whole child. And then lastly, our final strategic action, 5, is about advancing a high-performing operational culture. Every system allows our daily operations to be carried out with precision. And when we get it right, it functions without notice. But when our operational systems are in need of improvement, they can make or break the ability for our schools to be successful. So imagine a day when our district data systems are modernized and completely integrated with other district systems, resulting in better reporting, fewer manual errors, and more efficient processes for the employee, the student, and the family. A focus on operational systems allows continuous improvement in the areas of finance, human resources, technology, facilities, and transportation, all critical to our pursuit of exceptional. But our infrastructure has aged, and it is outliving its effectiveness. And as a result, Strategic Action 5 will, in turn, invest in modernizing those systems. And it will increase the integration of those systems, the automation and digitization of those processes, and it will eliminate multi-step processes that cannot be monitored for accuracy. Operational improvement leads to academic improvement, and we know that we must pursue both. So here, today, Henry County, this is our moment. The board's compass has set us on a pursuit of exceptional. And this strategic plan, it embodies and takes your ideas from your words into actions. There will be no exceptions made on this ambitious pursuit over the next 5 years. Can you believe that our rising kindergartners this fall will be 10 years old and in 5th grade in the August of 2026? I really probably shouldn't acknowledge that out loud for all of the upcoming kindergarten moms, including myself, that are tuning in and paying attention right now. They will all walk across a stage on their graduation night, having had a college experience and know where they will enroll in the fall, have worked and be employed with a stable job, or maybe they will be serving our country in the armed services. And they will walk across that stage with a clear plan and have goals for their future. Henry County, we are indeed emerging stronger from the depths of a crisis, the presence of uncertainty, and the pain of loss. We are emerging with clarity, with confidence, and with a shared belief that nothing is impossible when we come together for young people. It's our time. It's our time, Henry County, to grow our minds, our hearts, and our actions. It is time to listen in order to learn and understand our neighbors. It is time to soften our hearts and feel so that we may empathize with one another. And now is our time to take action. You belong right here in Henry County. and your voice matters. Together, we are in pursuit of exceptional. I now get to turn it over to my friend, Hannon, who will close us out.
Hi, Dr. Davis. How's it going over there? Hello?
You're good to go,
Oh.
Hannon. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I want to thank everyone for joining us today as our pursuit to exceptional continues. If you would like to know more about Henry County Schools' strategic plan, please visit our website at inpursuitofexceptional.com. The information shared here today, as well as a recording of our unveiling event, will be available on the site. In addition, we will be adding a detailed plan and timeline for initiatives to be implemented. And as always, your kindness, your enthusiasm, and your support for the students of Henry County, like me, is greatly appreciated. Whether you are attending in person or were able to join us by viewing online, we appreciate you, and we plan to make you proud as we together pursue exceptional for every student, every family, and the community that we all love. Thank you. Dr. Davis, I'll turn it back over to you now.
Thanks, Hannon. Good to see you today. Would my student friends just come up and join me, because I know our audience would like to celebrate them. Come on up. Please stay, please take a minute, please connect, please chat with our team, and of course, meet the most famous of us all. Thanks for being here today.